This is Fresh Tracks Weekly, and as the title implies, this is not a drill. Right now, Mike Lee's new draft bill would require the sale of millions of acres of public land, both BLM and Forest Service. I'm not even going to talk about other news this week. We're going to just jump in to the deeper dive where Randy is extremely fired up about everything that is going on right now.
If I look tired, Marcus, it's because I was up most of the night.
I can see why. Lucky for me, I didn't read it until this morning, or I haven't even read the whole thing, but I mean, I just have been looking at articles and then kind of skimming through this bill. But we already recorded a whole Fresh Tracks Weekly. It was threw in the trash because we got to redo it. Because now we know a little more about it, which is...
2 days ago, we did an episode that was kind of letting the audience know the bits and pieces that this was coming in the next week. Well, it came out last night. So our last episode wasn't even good for 48 hours. Good thing we didn't publish it.
I think it was funny because we were talking about, this is this like, be ready is kind of like the message that we were saying and talking about how everything changes so rapidly. And sure enough, stuff changed really rapidly. Well, give us the cliff notes and then we'll dive into it.
So yesterday afternoon, I started getting all these calls and emails like, Randy, you aren't going to believe what's going to be in print. What we've been worried about, what we've been told, and everyone has denied, is finally in print. The Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee, chaired by Senator Mike Lee of Utah, put out their 69-page bill that they want attached to the budget reconciliation in the Senate. 12 of those 69 pages, subtitle C, mandatory disposal of BLM and Forest Service land.
And it could be up to 3 million acres of land, essentially.
Right. Minimum is 0.5% of the 640 million acres of public land. Maximum is, I think, 0.75%. So,
and this is after, basically, sportsmen were celebrating a couple weeks ago when they stripped, when the the House side stripped that language out of there, or similar language out, and now they're putting it back in.
Right. So here's some fluky things. He exempts a few things: national monuments, national recreation areas, national parks. So the word is that because they don't want the big, beautiful bill to get tied up in House and Senate debates back and forth, that the committee chairmen have been working on this stuff. And Senator Lee, a few days ago, told everyone there's going to be a land sale provision, but no one knew the details until yesterday.
Right.
No, I'm sure he probably told some people. But anyhow, Montana's exempted.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, I guess we still don't know what that means because obviously Senator Daines and Sheehy, our Montana senators, have been vocal about how they're against selling public land. And so was this them cutting a deal, or was this maybe like their Mike Lee's way of saying, well, we won't put Montana in there and you better vote for it because of that?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I talked to somebody yesterday who mostly operates with the left side of the aisle, who said Lee threw this out there as bait to try to get Daines and Sheehy to take it.
Gotcha. So I guess we should probably put some pressure on them to not take that deal.
Absolutely.
Because that's, I don't know, just because let's save some of Montana's lands and sacrifice the rest of the Western U.S.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's those few things in there. It must be done within 5 years. And supposedly it's all in the name of better housing.
Affordable housing.
So there's all kinds of other people who are exempted and other activities that are exempted that we're not going to touch them. Yeah, here I've got it. Here it's 0.5% is the minimum and 0.75% is the maximum. And then they have a selection process. So anyone can nominate parcels to be sold.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So if there's something you want, you can just go on, and nominate it so you can purchase that land. And again, this isn't This isn't even state transfer, which was like the big move that people were trying to do.
This is flat out sale.
They're going to, they want to sell the land.
Because in here, it says what the money shall be used for. The proceeds, 5% go to the state within which the lands exist. 5% goes to the backlog account for backlog maintenance on federal lands. And the rest of it goes to the general fund of the U.S. Treasury to balance the budget gap. So we're going to sell our asset to pay for a bunch of Congress people who can't even balance a freaking checkbook. That's what this bill really comes down to. We're going to sell everything that the United States average citizen has enjoyed out there because we have a derelict Congress who doesn't know shit from apple butter when it comes to balancing a budget. They're going to sell their assets.
Yeah.
Rather than either raise revenues or reduce expenses, they're going to sell the assets.
And we've talked about this a million times about how that just doesn't make sense. Like if if you had a trust managing a trustee's assets, it's just like that's not a good tactic. Like you're literally selling the assets like it's a one-time sale for the short-term gain. What about future generations or even just 10 years from now? It's just like it's a one-time thing, and it does not make sense.
Here's how big of a hurry Mike Lee is in. He says, no later than 60 days after enactment of this act, and every 60 days thereafter, the Secretary of Ag and Interior shall publish a list of tracts identified by the Secretary for disposal or nominated for disposal. And then they have a whole list of how you nominate parcels from interested parties. So, it says, it goes on and on. I'm not going to read it all, but the point is that there's a lot of ways that people are going to be able to nominate parcels and buy them. And here's priority consideration. In selecting these tracts, the Secretary concerned shall give priority consideration to lands as determined by the Secretary, blah, 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 that are, 1, nominated by states or units of local government, are adjacent to existing developed areas, have access to existing infrastructure, are suitable for residential housing, reduce checkerboard land patterns because they've lost their corner crossing battle in the 10th Circuit Court.
Yeah, that one is really interesting.
Senator Lee's state of Utah is in the 10th Circuit. This is the first time we've ever seen a federal land disposal bill. FLTFA, none of them said we're going to get rid of checkerboard. But all of a sudden, because they lost their ass in court on corner crossing, now he's making it a priority. And then the last one is isolated tracts that are inefficient to manage. That's the language that was in the existing FLTFA law.
Right, yeah, the inaccessible, the ones that are, those little tiny parcels, which makes a little more sense, but this just makes none.
Yeah.
And then what I found interesting, so Mike Lee put out a video message, too. Yeah. Did you see that? And, in that video, he said, to our hunters, anglers, and sportsmen, you will not lose access to the lands you love. Washington has proven that it can't manage this land. This bill puts it in better hands. That's a flat-out lie.
That's a line of bullshit.
By better, for his definition of better hands, it means his friends,
right, his pals.
and private hands. That's what it is.
Let's read the thing. People have always said, well, if we're going to sell federal lands, let's do a deed restriction that says it has to be used for affordable housing. Yeah. He ain't going to do that. He says that once you own the land, you cannot use it for any other use than its intended use until after 10 years. Then you can do whatever you damn well want with it. And then he goes on to say, he gets into who can buy it. Except as provided herein, a person may not purchase more than 2 tracts of covered federal lands in any one sale under this section, unless the person owns land surrounding those tracts. So if you've got if you're pissed off because the public has access through a piece of ground that you want to block off all of this Forest Service hunting access or hiking, fishing, you are able to buy as many tracts as you want in this auction. But you and I, or the public, or a nonprofit organization can only buy 2 tracts.
It's kind of crazy. And like, one of the things I tend to ask myself when I see someone like Mike Lee promoting this is like, do you think in his mind he honestly believes that this is what is best for the majority of Americans? Or does he know deep down that this is only benefiting the select few? Because to me, it's just obvious that it's only benefiting the select few. Right. And that's what I just have to add. I like to believe that people usually think that they are in the right. Like they're like, they believe that what they're doing is actually the best for, their constituents. But I'm starting to think like, you know what? No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if if you believe that, or if you literally just want to help the select few and your friends.
I don't know. I never try to judge someone's motivations, but I do know this. The polls that have been taken in Utah, where Mike Lee is from, 75 to 80% of people don't want this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So what's
that's what
motivating him?
Yeah.
I don't know. But here's some talk that's going on out there. People are so pissed at Utah for sending Mike Lee there. There are people saying, well, let's craft a bill and sell every piece of public land in Utah if that's who you guys are going to send there.
Just go on the hardcore offensive. Like, all right, well, sell your land, but the rest of it, no,
that's frustration. People are throwing that out there as frustration. The point of all this is, folks, we have spent a lot of careful effort trying to sort out what's real and what's BS. We've tried not to raise the alarm, raise the flag until we absolutely knew something. But there's been pieces along the way in the last 6 months where we've had to throw it out there. We've had to throw it out there because we had to get ahead of it.
Right.
Here it is. It's in black and white. We're going to put a link to this 69-page bill that Lee has crafted. And start on page 30 and read the next 12 pages, and you will see that the American taxpayer, the average American who can't afford to go and buy this stuff at auction, the average American who uses these places to camp and hunt and fish and hike and do the things we love, you're about ready to get the pipe laid to you.
Yeah.
And if you think if they pull this one off, if you think this is the end of it, this is just cracking the door open. Right. This is the Mike Lee dream.
Yeah.
So if you have a U.S. senator, and you all have 2 of them, if they support public lands and oppose this idea, make sure they know you got their back. If you have a senator that's trying to straddle the fence on this, if you have a senator that is against or is in favor of this, the time has come for you to prove if you're with it or against it.
Yeah.
We're going to put the link in there. It is so easy to contact these people. And if we don't bring all the pressure, all the force right now, this is it. This is, I think in one of the previous episodes, I said, we're in a period where this is probably the most risk I've ever seen public lands.
Yeah.
This is what I was referring to right here.
Yeah. It's no longer just like a hypothetical. This is happening right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to D.C. next week. I have asked for a meeting with most of the senators on this committee. I can't even hardly get a response. Why? Because they know what the discussion is going to be.
Right.
And they don't want to squirm. I get it.
It's extremely frustrating, and you hope that somebody stands up to it, and not just somebody, but multiple people, because it's going to take multiples to stand up to this. And I mean, it already happened on the House side with Zinke and a handful of others. So I'm hopeful, but it's at the same time, this is it's very concerning.
Right. So on the House side, they tried this same stunt. A committee chairman said, I'm going to throw this in at the last minute. And Ryan Zinke, our congressman, told his chairman, well, you go ahead and do that. I ain't voting for it.
Yeah.
And he starts doing the math. He's like, well, if I lose Congressman Zinke, I'm out. Our bill's dead. The president's going to be pissed because the big, beautiful bill is going down the shitter. Mm-hmm. Same thing could happen here. If a couple of Republicans got the stones to stand up and tell Lee, I ain't voting for this.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And maybe they will. No, we're going to, in the next week, when this works its way through, we're going to find out who's with us and who's against us. If anyone thinks this is a good idea, they're probably going to have, I think they'll be surprised at the amount of backlash. I don't care what state these senators are from, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Washington, Alaska. I think this is one they are completely underestimating how pissed off the average American is going to be. Because here's how they're going to look at it. The average American is going to say, oh, you want to go sell the places I hunt and take my family? And you're going to have this big, beautiful bill that no one else gets a haircut, but there's a huge amount of tax benefits in there to the people who fund campaigns? That's really, that's the math we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then let's say that this 2 million acres were to sell for $1,000 an acre. That's $2 billion, $3 billion.
Yeah, compared to the deficit, it's a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
But you notice there's nothing in here, and it's going to drop the royalty rate on oil and gas. So the royalty rate just went up on oil and gas. This bill, if you read the first few pages, is going to drop it back down. There's nothing in here that tells the hard rock miners who skip out on $4 to $6 billion a year on royalties. It addresses none of that. This is Mike Lee's long-term crafted plan, him and the fringe operators who now have become almost mainstream. This has been their dream forever. And if we let it happen, I guess shame on us.
Yeah. We'll make sure to put links in the description for everybody to contact their senators. And and not only the public land sale and the leasing, but also the Ambler Road that had been this bargaining chip back, and that got stripped in the House side, and now that's back into. So it's just like, it's a frustrating time for a hunter.
We're going to put down in the description of the video will be the list of every senator on the Senate Energy and Natural Resource Committee, and if that is one of your senators, you need to email that senator. But even if they aren't on that committee, you need to be emailing your senators. This is it. I don't know what else to tell people. This is what we've talked about. This is the dream the other side has had. And they see their chance to start the snowball rolling down the hill. And this is a pretty damn big snowball.
Yeah. So just to wrap it up, the timeline of this is it's going to be in the Senate Energy Natural Resources Committee, right?
Right. So each
that's
committee,
a collection of how many senators are in that committee.
I'm trying to remember how many are in there. I think there's 11.
Okay.
It's more than 10. But so each committee, the chairman or chairwoman are crafting, or they're marking up all their bills. Mm-hmm. And behind the scenes, they're all talking to each other because they're like, this needs to happen fast. The president's putting pressure on us. We got to get his big, beautiful bill. So we can't have this normal bickering back and forth, us do something the House doesn't like. So they're working with the House people also so that if they get all this attached, this is going to be voted on that quick.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go to the House and it's going to be on the president's desk and signed. So that's why they're doing it so secretly. They don't want this out in the daylight. I mean, this is out in the daylight now, but they're going to be trying to get this pushed through in the next week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, time is of the essence.
Absolutely.
So we'll put the committee members and then also the switchboard, the Capitol switchboard number. We'll put a link to that document that you can read, Mike Lee's bill, and then I'll probably throw in, there's a nice concise collection of all the information, like Andrew McKean's article in Outdoor or Life. He usually is good about just like putting links and having everything in there too. So I'll put that in the description
Andrew
as well.
posted an article last night on it.
Yeah.
A bunch of us got this information yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, it happened last night.
That at the close of business, when the Senate everyone's gone for the evening or the afternoon, this got published. Mm-hmm. And we knew it was coming. And so for all of those who've said, oh, this is all manufactured, you guys are just making this up, show me proof, blah, 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 blah. Well, for those of you who are skeptics, those of you who are critics, here is your proof.
All right. Well, thanks, Randy. Good luck in D.C. Hopefully somebody is willing to listen to you.
I don't know.
We're going to have to get an update as soon as you get back. So
really what I need is some sleep, Marcus.
Try to get some before you head there because you're probably not going to get any while you're there.
That's what we're here for. So thanks for watching, folks. Go get them. Do not let this happen. What does Frederick Douglass say? I was reading all of his quotes last night. Power, in other words, elected people, concede nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. So if we don't make a demand on those in power, they're not going to concede. They're just going to ram it down our throats. So make a demand. Demand that this stuff go by the wayside. Tell them to get on with the business of running government, of balancing budgets, and quit screwing around with this stuff that's been Mike Lee's dream since as long as I've seen him on the scene. It's time for Congress to run the government the way the government's supposed to be run. And that does not include selling assets. Tell them that.